Radio check loud and clear. Thank you everyone for tuning in and welcome along to the coverage here in Spa-Francorchamps for our fourth session of the weekend. We have got qualifying starting in 30 minutes time. This will be the normal qualifying where we have 18 minutes for Q1, 15 minutes for Q2 and 12 minutes for Q3. Yeah, we've had a fairly, I'd say, uneventful sprint race to say the least. Yeah, Max Verstappen, of course, taking a pretty commanding win over Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. You know, they both had DRS on Max Verstappen for the entire duration of the sprint race, but on no occasion did Oscar Piastri, on no occasion was Piastri close enough to send one to the inside. And Lando Norris couldn't catch up to, well, he could catch up to his teammate, could not get past his teammate. So, yeah, rather uneventful sprint up at the front. And normally, the midfield is a little bit more busy, a little bit more action. But we had Stroll overtake Fernando Alonso, I think, on the opening lap. We had Hamilton get an overtake done on Hülkenberg and Albon, and then Antonelli also overtake Hülkenberg. But apart from that, there was no other overtakes that at least caught my eye. And yeah, pretty boring, but things are going to change tomorrow. Firstly, because of the weather. Secondly, because there'll be strategy. And the big thing with the strategy this weekend is that Pirelli have brought C4s for the softs, C3 for the mediums, and rather than bringing C2s for the hards, rather than being at 4-3-2, they've gone for the C1 for the hard tyre. So they've totally skipped out the C2, which means that the hard tyre is really, really slow, especially when track temperature is as low as it is. As you can see there on the screen, 38 degrees, 39 degrees track temperature. And the hard tyres, the C1s, would be much more suited to 46, 47, 48, that sort of range of track temperature. So we're about 10 degrees short, and there's no sort of sign that we're going to get that extra 10 degrees of track temperature because there's a lot of cloud cover. The forecast for rain is still 10% for the QUALI. To be honest with you, I don't think it's going to rain. But tomorrow, the chance of rain is 50%, and that is 50% throughout the entire day. So I suspect what will happen is overnight at some point, or maybe in the early morning, the circuit, it will rain and the circuit will get wet. And then by the time we go racing for Formula One, we'll have a wet circuit, a damp circuit to really start the race on. And then depending on our luck and depending on how many rain dances are executed, we will also get we'll also get some rain during the race as well. Okay, my co-worker Ferrari has a good chance in the sprint because it's too short for a pit wall strategy. Yeah, that's, to be fair, pretty accurate. I mean, Charles Leclerc did stay up in fourth place, so pretty good job there from Charles. Hamilton, however, his luck has not been on his side, and Hamilton really needs to deliver at some point this season. Well, not this season, but he's got to deliver soon. Past couple of races haven't been great for him. Of course, that fourth position in Silverstone was pretty good, but apart from that, I'll put the constructors up on the screen right now, right? So you can see that Ferrari are actually still second in the constructors, but they're only really second in the constructors because Red Bull have just got a singular driver driving the car, pretty much, being Max Verstappen, and Mercedes have only got 1.5 drivers, I'd probably say, because George Russell's delivering pretty well, but Antonelli is not up to scratch, especially in the first sort of quarter of the season. He was really not there and not scoring that many points. So yeah, I think that's why Ferrari is second. Even though if you think of Ferrari, what have they done this season? They've got double disqualifications in China. They've had spins in Silverstone. They've had just terrible races all around. And not every single race has been terrible, but quite a lot of them have been. They've had big blunders, but still they end up in second place because the competition just isn't really there. That's the constructor standings there. 172 points for Red Bull, 210 for Mercedes. And let's pull up the drivers. And we've got Max Verstappen scoring 165. That's 165 of 172. So Max Verstappen has scored every point apart from 7 for the Mercedes team. And yeah, as you can see there, George Russell is outscoring Kimi Antonelli by a factor of 2.5. I'm not saying Antonelli is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm just saying that he's not up to scratch for being in a top team. Ideally, Russell would be paired with another driver like, let's say, Alex Albon or Carlos Sainz, and then both drivers would be at, say, 140 points, 130 points, and then Mercedes would outscore Ferrari. But as of the way it's going right now, they've put a lot of faith in Antonelli. He's delivered reasonably well, as what you would expect from a rookie, but nothing outstandingly exceptional like, let's say, Lewis Hamilton's rookie season in 2007. So, yeah. The constructors, Ferrari's still doing all right in the constructors, and that's the thing they only really care about. They know they're not going to win the Drivers' Championship, so I guess we'll see how it goes from there. At F1 Gamer, did McLaren change their setup for a higher top speed one, or are they still set up for top downforce? So in FP1, they did have the higher downforce setup, and then between FP1 and QUALI, they did change it. They reduced their downforce levels a little bit, and their downforce levels, or at least not their downforce levels, their drag levels match the Red Bulls, or Max Verstappen at least. So Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri have the same top speeds going through the speed traps, but then of course we know the McLaren's a little bit quicker, so they does have more downforce through the middle sector. Okay, F1 Gamer, your quality predictions. I am going to predict that we have, what should I predict? Both Williams get into Q3, and I also predict that, let's see, what else? Which other drivers should I talk about? I think Charles Leclerc is going to be in the top 3. That's my prediction. Okay. F1 Gamer, do you think Antonelli was off his game because of the sudden risk of Max replacing him in the last few months? The last of contract looming might have been a right mess for the rookie. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, that is a big concern, and sort of just the big step up as well. If Antonelli was in a slightly more low pressure environment, maybe he would have performed a little bit better, because of course when you're at Mercedes, you've got a lot of eyes on you, a lot of people watching you and seeing every single little thing that you're doing. So as a young driver, that obviously takes a pretty big toll on your driving ability, let's say, but also just takes a lot of mental strain. So maybe Antonelli would have done better in a low pressure environment. I think that's why a lot of the rookies in recent years now always start off at a lower, slower team, and then they make their way up into the bigger team. They find their feet in Formula One, and then they can deal with the pressure and the media and the controversies and stuff like that. Someone made a good suggestion last stream. What is the north on the map? Oh yeah, I think I actually said that I would do it, and then clearly forgot. I'll figure out what north is right now, and then I will just tell you verbally, and next time I will put I'll put a little marker on the circuit. Yeah. Okay, but we're 22 minutes away from qualifying. Max Verstappen has got every single pole position here in the last 4 years or something, or he's got or he hasn't got pole position technically. Technically, he has got the quickest lap in Q3, but then of course not able to convert that into a pole position because he had grid penalties. Okay, so the north direction is, let me just show you. So north is like this. So the north is to the left, and then you've got south to the right, and of course east and west as they obviously as they normally go, just so north is from the left side, and then we've got the wind from the westerly direction here, so north, east, southwest. So we've got the wind blowing from the west upwards, upwards a circuit like this. Okay, but I'll actually remember to do that for the Hungarian Grand Prix and add that in. Okay. F1 Gamer, Ferrari had Lewis with a new secret upgrade which they gave to Leclerc at Montreal, and Charles crashed at the first session. Now Lewis says he's used to upgrade like Lewis. I don't know exactly what that means. I didn't see anything about Leclerc getting an upgrade that Hamilton didn't get, and normally if Ferrari just manufacture one set of upgrades, They'll alternate it between the drivers because, I think they're trying to make it very clear to both of the drivers that there's no clear number one, there's no clear number two. And, if you look at the drivers' standings as well, Leclerc is only, 16 points ahead of Hamilton. So they'll alternate. If they only have one set of upgrades, then the first time Leclerc will get it, the second time Hamilton will get it. But yeah, I don't really know about that situation. The Ferrari upgrade situation that I do know about is, of course, the rear suspension upgrade that they brought this weekend. And, it's worked out well for Leclerc. He's closer to the McLarens than he previously was in past couple of races. So the McLarens would drop Charles Leclerc pretty quickly, nearly at a rate of sort of 7/10, 8/10 a lap. And here in Spa, that gap has reduced down a little bit. I mean, it's not like a huge time saving, but Leclerc, I'd say on average, was only 8 seconds behind Lando Norris or 10 seconds behind Oscar Piastri. So, that's sort of reduced just a small amount. But I think Leclerc's a little bit more confident in the car. Hamilton, however, the story is totally different. I don't really know what's going on there. But yeah, he's had 15 laps of racing. He's figured some things out about the setup. Maybe he'll change some things. Maybe some things will go better. And the other thing was, if you did look at Lewis Hamilton's telemetry before on his first lap in Q1 yesterday, he was actually half a second up on Charles Leclerc. I think right around the midpoint of the lap here, just going through Pouhon, he was about half a second up, or hit this point here. But then his tyres were really, really overheating, and then as he went through turn 13 and 14, lost a bunch of time, and then just lost even more time throughout the rest of the lap. So Hamilton was good, but I think that half a second that he was up on Charles Leclerc was partially due to the fact that he overheated his tyres, and he was never ever going to be able to complete the lap in perfect conditions after that. So yeah, Hamilton's still got some work to do. F1 Gamer, is it guaranteed rain tomorrow? Because if there won't, I think Max will win for sure tomorrow, just like the sprint. Well, the rain isn't guaranteed, but there is a 50% chance of rain throughout the entire sort of day. Basically, from midnight onwards, the chance of rain starts off at 40, goes up to 50, I think at some point goes up to 60, and then goes back down to 50 or so. So basically, it may not rain during the race itself, but I think there's a very, very good chance that it will rain beforehand, and that will mean the circuit will be wet at least to start with. Did you hear about McLaren's upgrades favouring Lando more than Oscar, rejecting the upgrades? Yeah, I did hear about that actually. Basically, Lando Norris was complaining about the suspension, saying, I would like some more feeling, or basically he wanted some changes to the suspension. McLaren did those changes. Lando Norris got quicker. Oscar Piastri drove around, I think, on those new suspension or whatever it was, and was like, no, I don't want it. And then that sort of caused a bit of a problem for McLaren, because you can't develop two different cars. The team have only got a certain amount of engineers, and they can't sort of split that workload designing two different cars, because they have to run the simulations again for a slightly different front suspension that modifies the aerodynamics all the way back to the side pods, to the floor, to the rear wing. So they cannot afford to have two different versions of the car, one for Piastri, one for Norris. So they were basically trying to get Piastri, can you please use Norris's suspension, because we want just one version of the car to develop. And I think Piastri ended up just saying no, and accepting the fact that there'll be no more upgrades till the end of the season. I don't think there were going to be any more upgrades to the end of the season. I think if next year wasn't a big rule change, Piastri would have sort of agreed to it, and said, oh yeah, I'll take Norris's suspension, it's okay. Or maybe he would have not agreed. But either way, it's not a big problem, because next year they're changing the car totally. So if there's no more upgrade packages for the second half of the season, it's not an issue, because the McLarens are so far ahead, it's not going to matter. Oscar basically declined it. I guess we'll... maybe, I don't know, I thought he tried it, because I don't know why he would decline it without even trying it. Maybe he tried it in the simulator and then was like, I don't want to do this, but either way, they've got slightly different versions of the cars, but each suited to the driver. You know, Lando Norris's version suits him, and Oscar Piastri's version suits him. So there's no sort of like, oh, McLaren's has a favorite driver like Lando Norris or anything. It's just purely down to driver preference, and it looks like neither of the McLaren drivers will be getting any significant upgrades till the end of the season. All right. I shall take you through a lap of the circuit here, ladies and gents, and then actually, you know what I'll do? I'll take you through a wet lap of the circuit, because, you know, it's potentially raining tomorrow, and I'll just do that beforehand, and then as we get close to the start of the session, I'll take you through a dry lap as well. So here we go. Right, a wet lap of Spa. You brake at the 100-meter mark, but of course down into second gear, just let the car roll through. Short shift early. You don't want the wheel spin going through third and fourth, because it upsets the rear of the car, and yeah, you're already on the limit of grip. You don't want to be disturbing the car anymore. Then it's a tiny little lift through Eau Rouge. I think some drivers could take it flat, but I'm not that skilled, especially not in the F1 game. No DRS, of course, as you go through the Camel Straight. And now the main thing here about the Camel Straight is the drivers have to be very wary of where the puddles are, where the rivers are, because Spa is all, you know, there's huge elevation change. In fact, it's the circuit which has the most elevation change in Formula 1. And because of that, the water will run downhill. And, well, not because it has elevation change, just by physics, right? And the problem with that, or not really a problem, but essentially the water flowing somewhere is going to form little rivers and little puddles, and the drivers have to be constantly aware of these changing rivers, these changing puddles, so they know where to place the car for the next time they come around the circuit. So, you know, you don't really want to be braking on that curb. You can get away with it in the game, but in real life, do not touch the white lines, because they are so slippery, and you just spin off basically. And with the barrier so close, especially in the middle sector around Spa, it's not worth the risk. You know, you've got gravel traps there on the outside. You just wait for the car to rotate through that one. It's so slow. If you get onto the power too early, you will get a snap just like that, and then down the hill towards Pouhon. And, you know, sometimes move over slightly to the left hand side. It gives you a little bit more grip. It really depends on the track surface. And of course, this weekend, not this weekend, but this time round, the circuit at Spa has been totally resurfaced, and that's partially the reason why Oscar Piastri went quicker than Lewis Hamilton's W11 lap back from 2020. And then, you know, you make your way through Stavolo here, and again, you've got the gravel trap on the exit. It's so easy to just get a little snap of the rear, and off into the gravel you go. That's your race over, pretty much. So the drivers do have to be very careful. And then you continue on through Blanchimont, and, you know, this part of the circuit is a little bit uphill, so you don't have to worry. All the water sort of flows away from you, and you continue on, and things are all good. Braking in a straight line for the bus stop chicane. You know, shift your brake balance forward, and just coast it through these next two corners. Do an early upshift. Don't try to accelerate in second gear like I do here, because it's just a recipe for wheel spin. And, you know, so even in the race tomorrow, if we start off in wet conditions, we will most definitely see drivers start the race in second gear, sometimes even third gear, just to minimize the wheel spin that they get and minimize the disturbances on the car as well on the upshifts. But that is rain predicted for tomorrow. No, just not to confuse anyone, I probably should have said that a bit before, but there is no rain today. There's a 10% chance of rain during this session, so the video that I just showed you was more so for tomorrow, and I'll take you through a dry lap of the circuit right now. Okay, so dry lap, of course. Brake balance forward. Don't lock the rears like Lewis Hamilton did. You know, I don't know if that was Hamilton's fault or if that was a gearbox issue with the Ferrari car, but either way, yeah, he doesn't want to be repeating that again. And you continue on down towards La Source, and downshifting at the 100 meter board, braking at the 100 meter board, carry the speed through the corner, and then you go accelerate up the hill towards Eau Rouge now. And the driver's flat out for 22 seconds here, you know, over this left curb, over the right curb, and then you can go more to the left as well, drive over that curb. As long as you don't exceed track limits, your lap time won't be deleted. We did see Behrman and Oscar Piastri get their lap time deleted yesterday for exceeding track limits there on the exit of Raidillon. Then into the Les Combes chicane, you can go all over these curbs here because they won't spin you out. They're quite nice curbs here in Spa-Francorchamps. Now into turn number 8, you're super duper late on the brakes and getting that rotation through the car. Also, I was calling this corner No Name Corner, and apparently since 2018 it's been renamed to Jackie X Corner or something. But I might continue calling it No Names Corner because I think that's what most people know it at, or I could just call it Turn 9 really. Anyway, down the hill you go towards Puon. Little lift, and I think in these cars, with Piastri going so quick, he could probably get away with not doing a lift, and then in towards the Lafandis chicane, braking at the curb. And the main thing here really is to be super smooth on the steering, because at this point, right, let's have a look. You've already gone through the entire first sector. You've gone through this triple chicane that really heats up your tyres. Then again, a super long 180-degree corner, another 90-degree corner, another 180-degree corner. This is 6th gear, 7th gear flat out. So your tyres are cooked after this sequence of corners. So you've got to be super smooth on the steering, super smooth on the throttle, not to lose the car. We've seen drivers go off a little bit, kick up a little bit of gravel because they don't expect the sort of loss of grip that you get from overheating. And then in fact we saw Kimi Antonelli had quite a bit of overheating. He went into Stavolo here, lost the rear of the car, into the gravel trap he went, and that was the end of his qualifying session. Qualified in dead last, I think. So yeah, the drivers do have to be very careful, and yeah, just continue on through Stavolo, hold it to the inside line, and continue on through Blanchimont. And here at Spa, the drivers spend about 70% of the lap at full throttle. Like, it's a very high-speed circuit. Even then, it's the longest lap that you see in Formula 1. It's a 1 minute 43 for quali times. During races, it's 1:47s. So, yeah, quite a good circuit, to be honest. And yeah, that's the lap of Spa-Francorchamps. Okay. F1 Game, what do you think about the Horner sacking? Well, the thing is, it's a little bit strange that it's come sort of at the time it did. If it came, say, at the start of the season, I would understand. If it came at the halfway point of the season, I would understand. But in between races is very strange. I mean, there must have been like something brewing in the back of Red Bull for quite a while for Christian Horner to get fired in between races. Yeah, it gave Lauren Mickey's not that much time to sort of settle into the team, get to know all of the key people, the key personnel working at the race team, working back at the factory. So yeah, and it's a little bit strange. Christian Horner has been team principal with Red Bull since 2005. Since the first ever race Red Bull entered, Christian Horner was team principal right up until this Belgian Grand Prix. So, you know, it's a little bit strange that someone with so much experience, so much history with the team has just been suddenly fired out of nowhere. You know, there were some controversies last year. I agree, the car performance hasn't been that good, but, you know, Red Bull still aren't that bad. You know, Max Verstappen just won the sprint race, got sprint pole as well. Oh no, sorry, he didn't get sprint pole, he got second. But regardless, you know, Red Bull aren't that slow. They aren't winning a championship by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, it's a bit strange, really. I think it will benefit. Though Yuki Tsunoda, because Yuki Tsunoda has worked with Lauren Mickey's before, whereas. Yeah, he's worked with him before, and we know that he'll have a little bit of sort of rapport built up with him, and he'll have a little bit more confidence. And the team principal now of Red Bull will have a little bit more knowledge of how to set up the car for Yuki Tsunoda. Another thing I'd like to point out: Tsunoda is running a downgraded version of the car compared to Max Verstappen. Verstappen has got the new upgrades; Tsunoda doesn't. They're not giving Tsunoda the new upgrades; not even planning to do it because they're diverting all resources to 2026. And the other thing is that Tsunoda wouldn't really be comfortable in the new upgrades anyway because they make the car a little bit more twitchy, a little bit more undrivable. Okay, we've got 4,000 people watching. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We've got 7 minutes left till the start of qualifying. Let me know what your predictions are. And in fact, let me know who do you think is going to qualify in dead last. Normally we ask, who do you think is going to get pole? But who do you think is going to qualify in dead last? Right. Yuki deserves better than this. Yeah, I mean he does. But I guess he does deserve, sort of the upgraded car. But if the upgraded car is just going to make it even harder to drive for him, maybe it's just better off that he sticks in the downgraded version. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a difficult situation really, because obviously you'd like to be fair to both drivers and give Yuki the upgraded version of the car. But then if it makes it harder for him to drive, then is there any point? A lot of people saying Franco Colapinto is going to qualify dead last. Yeah, didn't have the best sprint race, did he? And of course, started from the pit lane after making some changes to his setup. Maybe the changes to his setup will help him because Pierre Gasly made it through into SQ3. So Pierre Gasly clearly had some pace. Colapinto, however, not so much. The thing is, if you look at the pace difference between the two drivers in clean air, so during the race in clean air, Pierre Gasly and Franco Colapinto are very, very close to each other, actually, in terms of pure pace. But in qualifying, Colapinto falls behind quite significantly. So that's the real issue there for Colapinto, because we also saw this when he was at Williams. He was crashing the car quite frequently, and he didn't really have the best feeling for where the limit of the car is. And that's exactly what you need in quali, because in the race you're always driving 95%, 90% attack because you want to conserve your tires. But in quali it's 100% attack. You need to know exactly where that limit of grip is. Otherwise you're going to crash, you're going to spin, or you drive at 95% attack in quali and you qualify low and you get knocked out in Q1. So yeah, that's the thing I think Colapinto needs to work on. Of course, it can be worked on. Oscar Piastri quite consistently was getting out-qualified by Lando Norris last season. Over the winter break, I'm sure he worked on his qualifying performances, and lo and behold, he's out-qualifying Lando Norris quite frequently this year. Okay. I hope Laurent can fix the Red Bull command climate. It's sad to see Horner as such a dictator. Yeah, I mean, there is different people have different styles of managing teams. Some people will micromanage. Some people will sort of just give out vague instructions and hope that the other people in charge will take lead from there. And some people will be very methodical. Some people will apply a lot of pressure. And it's just a different style of management, really. Sometimes it works for some teams. Sometimes it can work for a short period of time. And I guess Christian Horner's luck has just run out. Hamilton's SQ1 exit, was it a skill issue or a car issue? Honestly, I don't know. And there hasn't been any telemetry released. Hamilton didn't say, if it was the car's fault or if it was his fault. So, but I can't, if you watch the onboard, you hear a slightly strange sound from the gearbox, but that could equally be the gearbox is making a weird sound because the rear wheels are locked, or you could say that the gearbox made a weird sound that caused the rear wheels to lock. Like, we don't really know. The only people that will know are the Ferrari engineers. And unfortunately, I don't know anyone working at the Ferrari team. Are teams allowed to make changes before this session? Indeed, they are. So the rules for Parc Ferme are that at the end of FP1, at the start of sprint quali, you have to lock in your setup for sprint quali in the sprint race. However, once the sprint race is finished, you can change your setup for the normal qualifying and the normal race. So maybe, we'll see that some teams bolt on a little bit more downforce because they see that the forecast tomorrow indicates a little bit of rain. And as we saw last weekend out, a little bit more downforce really does help out. Max Verstappen, super talented driver in wet conditions, but he was running Monza levels of downforce at Silverstone compared to everyone else running relatively high levels of downforce. So, it was no surprise really to see Max Verstappen spinning because, well, not really. It was still surprising, but I would say a little bit more lightly because of the fact that he just has no downforce on the car, and they will have learned from that lesson. Or other teams will have seen the same mistake that Red Bull made. Potentially, they will also opt for a slightly higher downforce version of their car, and some teams will go slightly low downforce, and they'll take the gamble for tomorrow. And that's why the speed traps are there on the screen, so you can keep an eye out on which teams are top of the speed traps, which teams are bottom of the speed traps, and it'll give you a little bit of an indication on who's running more downforce, who's running a little bit less. Okay. Yeah, a minute and 48 seconds, and oh my god, people are already queuing up at the end of the pit lane. I don't know what's exactly going on there, but we've got the Alpines queued up, we've got some of the McLarens, the Ferrari, I think Lance Stroll's queued up as well. I don't know, with a 1 minute and 30 seconds left to go, I don't know why they're queuing up so early. Okay. F1 Gamer, do you think the 2026 cars will be a game changer or will things stay the same? Well, I think I think things will be pretty similar. They could, rather than a way to improve racing, because a lot of people sort of say that Formula One's overtakes mainly all just happen on the straights and in the braking zones for the corner after the straights. And, I have to agree with them. If you watch MotoGP, if you watch LMP racing or GT racing, there's loads of overtakes actually through corners, through multiple sequences of corners. And I think that is much more exciting, much more exhilarating, pushing the drivers right to the limit rather than a DRS overtake down the straight. So what they could do, we have the problem of dirty air in Formula One, and I've got a little video coming up on that, sort of explaining why dirty air exists and what can be done about it. But essentially, rather than reducing downforce down the straights, because we've got active aero for next year, what they can do is they can add extra downforce. So let's say you're within 1 second of the driver ahead of you, you can add an extra little bit of downforce to compensate for the loss in dirty air, which means then the drivers can race side by side through the corners as well. And that could really improve the racing. I don't know if Formula One's going to implement that, but if they did, I think that would be a real game changer. Compared to, let's say, just adding more DRS zones, because that just makes straight easy overtakes, into braking zones, and it's not the most exciting. And I'd say the most exciting sort of overtakes that we get are the ones where we have drivers battling for multiple corner sequences, sliding to the left, to the right, down the inside, down around the outside, like loads of different combinations. I think that's the best kind of overtaking that you can get and best kind of racing you can get. So if they could do something to enhance that, that would be amazing. Favorite Sebastian Vettel moment? Oh, that's a tough one, isn't it? I would say, I don't know. All of them. I can't think of. I think the one where they ask a really long question in that Abu Dhabi interview. It's like, gentlemen, short view back to the past. Niki Lauda said if you put a monkey in the car, etc., etc., etc. And then Vettel was like, "Oh, can you repeat the question?" I think that's definitely my favorite moment. F1 Gamer, is dirty air more prominent this season? It is more prominent this season, because the way that it works is as the cars generate more downforce, there is, as a result, more dirty air. And with the cars getting quicker and quicker, there's more downforce getting generated, and because more downforce gets generated, there's more dirty air. Oh, Nico Hulkenberg's front wing gets damaged. He was trying to squeeze his way into traffic. Stroll drove over his front wing, and Nico Hulkenberg is getting a front wing replaced in the pit lane because Stroll has driven over it. I mean, okay, it was pretty clearly the Sauber mechanic's fault. The Sauber mechanic basically told Nico Hulkenberg to go and was blocking his view of the blind spot, so he couldn't really see Stroll, I don't think. And yeah, so the Sauber mechanic was sort of hoping that Stroll would stop and let Nico Hulkenberg go. Stroll didn't stop, and Nico Hulkenberg is getting a front wing replacement in the pit lane. Okay, yeah, we've got everyone out on softs apart from Franco Colapinto. Quite a few drivers out on fresh sets of softs, but a lot of drivers also out on new sets because, it is the first run of Q1, so the driver's going to build up to it, and they'll use the fresh set right at the end. But Nico Hulkenberg, Liam Lawson, and are just going flat out. I don't know why Colapinto's using a set of medium tyres now. I mean, he could have used them during the sprint race. That probably would have been helpful, but yeah, Colapinto using the medium tyres now in Q1, and he could probably save them for the race tomorrow. He probably need them. F1 Gamer, do you have a channel playing the F1 game? You would think someone called F1 Gamer on YouTube would have some videos about the Formula 1 game, but no. The most gaming that I do is these hot laps that I record are for the channel. So yeah, I mean, I have actually put, I re-released a video from like 3 years ago. I put it public again. It's like Learn the Alphabet with Formula 1. It's got quite a few memes, of course. They're 3 years old memes, but, good throwback. So, if you guys are interested, go ahead and check that out. And then the only other video that I've got up on my channel is the F1 engine noises from 1950s all the way to the current engines, and I've got to say it's really incredible to see the changes in noises from the V12s to the V10s to the twin turbos and everything. So I'd recommend watching that one as well. surprise, surprise, a YouTuber recommending you to watch his own videos. Like, oh, big surprise there. Anyway, we've got the McLaren starting their flying lap, so let's follow on board with them, shall we? Lando Norris going up the hill through Eau Rouge and Radion. The Williams are looking pretty racy as well, I've got to say. Franco Colapinto somehow purple in the first and second sector, even though he's on fresh sets of mediums and everyone else is on softs. So, yeah, don't know what's going on there, but, you guys that were predicting Colapinto is going to be last in QUALI may have just been proven wrong already. And anyway, so continuing on, the McLarens, pretty nice first sector there from Norris, clearly not pushing too hard. Same thing for Piastri. They're obviously going to be building up to it. And yeah. F1 Gamer would love to see more videos from you if you want to make them. Yeah, I have a sort of video planned out. I've already got it on my iPad. I've got a sort of a slideshow or a little design screen of basically explaining all the dirty air and stuff. Because at university I study engineering, and because of that, I have a lot of technical knowledge about Formula One, shall we say. So, it'd be pretty cool to sort of explain that and put that into videos. So that's coming up at some point when I get around to it, probably sometime in the summer break. Yeah, the difference between dirty air and slipstream and stuff like that. Okay, and yeah, why have they just come into the pits? I have no idea. This makes no sense. They were doing quite nicely, and Colapinto dived into the pit lane. Literally no sense whatsoever. And this is strange here. I don't know if McLarens haven't turned up their engine mode fully, but Norris and Piastri 312 kilometers per hour through the speed trap. If we saw what they were doing yesterday, they were doing 318 kilometers per hour through the speed trap. So that's a 6 kilometers per hour difference. And that's right at the start of the straight here, just on the exit of Radion. So the McLaren's potentially running more downforce this week, or at least this session and for the race as well, because they're predicting that there's going to be a rain. We'll keep an eye out on what Max Verstappen's speed trap speed looks like. Currently he's on an outlap. Right. Yeah, loads of drivers driving into the pit lane, and I think essentially what they're doing is they did a sort of flying lap on a set of used tires, and then they're going to dive into the pits, put on a fresh set, and then go to qualify basically. Yeah, so the drivers sort of get used to what they need to do and find some rhythm, and then they'll go out and do a proper lap with low fuel and fresh sets of tires. Marlon Pelsmaker. Thank you for the gifted channel memberships. Very much is appreciated. And who's that? Dan Catty has got a channel membership. Thank you very much. Yeah, hope you enjoy. Really does help out the channel, so very much is appreciated. Oscar Piastri, a 141.9 from him, a 10th quicker than Lando Norris. So looks like Lando Norris may have found the pace difference in between himself and Lando Norris. Lando Norris has found the pace difference in between himself and Piastri, because in FP1 and in Sprint Quali, Piastri was about half a second ahead of his teammate. So yeah, Norris figured out those whatever issue it was, and is getting closer, maybe. George Russell, purple in the first sector, looking really good is George Russell. Mercedes had a pretty bad quali in sprint qualifying. Maybe their setup wasn't perfect. I'm not sure exactly what it was. Antonelli knocked out a Q1, Russell knocked out a Q2. So yeah, clearly some work to do for them. And the big points, of course, come on a Sunday, so they've still got some time to recover. Okay, 10 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock here, and we have got Antonelli coming across the line. What is it going to be for him, or is he also going to dive into the pits? Nope, continues along across the start-finish line. It is third position, last out of everyone that set a lap, and that is 7/10 back from on Piastri, and Russell half a second back from Piastri. Kai has upgraded the channel membership to Podium Finish. Thank you very much, Kai. Very much is appreciated once again. Okay, so yeah, it's McLaren 1-2, Mercedes 3-4, and yeah, no one else has set a lap yet. Max Verstappen's on a flyer though, so that's about to change. Gabriel Bortoleto also is on a flying lap. Also, his top speed, 309 kilometers per hour for Gabriel Bortoleto. He has really bolted on the levels of downforce on his car because, 309 is really slow compared to what they were doing yesterday, which was like 319. And Verstappen also second place, 310. Tsunoda, 310. They're all going 8 kilometers per hour, 9 kilometers per hour slower than they were yesterday because they've added downforce. They cannot afford for more issues tomorrow. And Verstappen splits the McLaren. Tsunoda not that far behind, actually. Very nice job there from Yuki Tsunoda. 4/10 back from Piastri, 3/10 back from Max Verstappen. Oliver Behrman, purple in the middle sector. Take a bow ollie, and it is 3:06 through the speed traps for him. So he's got the most downforce out of everyone, I think, has Oliver Behrman, which explains his purple middle sector. Pierre Gasly has not got the most downforce. He's in fact still going 317 kilometers per hour. He was momentarily purple through the first sector. Charles Leclerc beat him to it, and he also got a toe off Max Verstappen, I think. Albon goes up into second. Lawson's up in first. Great lap from him, but of course you've got to remember these guys are on fresh tyres. Behrman, however, is not. Behrman was on used tyres that were 2 laps older than the McLarens, but still he goes a 10th quicker than them. And Sainz is on a fresh set of softs, and he goes top of the times, a 10th quicker than Alex Albon. And this pace difference here is purely down to the fact that some drivers set their laps on used tyres, so I wouldn't read into it too much. But, yeah, really good going from the Williams team. Oh, here comes Lewis Hamilton, purple in the first sector. Just pips out Charles Leclerc. Somehow, both Ferraris have gone purple in the first sector. I don't know if that was both a toe or if Ferrari just have some trick on how to accelerate better, but Charles Leclerc is just coming out of the bus stop chicane now. What can he do? Pierre Gasly across the line. It is 8th place for him. Purple in the final sector. Charles Leclerc up to top of the times, half a tenth ahead of his former teammate Carlos Sainz. Nico Hülkenberg, off a podium from last weekend, is in 11th position. 6 places ahead of his rookie teammate. We got Ocon across the line, 13th for him. Then we've got Bortoleto into the pits. Hamilton on a flyer. Colapinto across the line, 15th for him. And Hamilton, last driver to set a lap. What's it going to be for Sir Lewis Hamilton across the line? Only 6th position. 3/10 back from Charles Leclerc, but I've got to say a huge improvement from yesterday. Yeah. Okay, so currently in the elimination zone, we have got Franco Colapinto, George Russell, Lance Stroll, Kimi Antonelli, Gabriel Bortoleto. What has happened to Mercedes? Toto Wolff is looking like kind of a clown right now. He spent the last week basically saying, Max Verstappen, please come to the Mercedes team. Please, we'll give you a fast car. And the following weekend, both of his cars are currently in the drop zone of Q1. Don't know what's going on there, but either they've gone the wrong way on the setup, or they were out on used tyres, but the tyre indicator says they're out on fresh tyres. So I'm inclined to believe that Mercedes have had a royal blunder, and I don't know how that's going to go. Also, I'd like to say the field is exceptionally close considering we are here in Spa-Francorchamps, which is the longest circuit on the entire calendar, but still the gap from first position down to 20th is only 1.2 seconds. That's probably about to change given that we've got Norris and Piastri out on fresh sets of soft tyres. Through the first sector they go, and Norris, in fact, 3/10 slower than Hamilton in the first sector. Now, that's, of course, down to pure downforce. If we look at Oscar Piastri, he's also down. He's, in fact, a 10th down on Lando Norris as well. And that's purely down to the fact that these drivers are using more downforce, so they're going to be slower in Sectors 1 and Sectors 3, but are going purple in Sector 2, as Lando Norris has just done there. We'll see what Piastri can do in the middle sector. He's been an absolute monster in the middle sector, going 9/10 of a second quicker than everyone else in FP1, apart from Lando Norris, who he was half a second quicker than, just in the middle sector, right? 9/10 quicker just in the middle sector. Absolutely wild. Lando Norris, so purple in the second and the third sectors across the line. 6/10 clearer of Charles Leclerc. Great lap from the Brit, who is, coming off a win at home, but Oscar Piastri coming to stop him. Purple in the middle sector, 10th quicker than Lando Norris. He's now just got Blanchimont and the bus stop chicane left to go. Here comes Oscar Piastri. The margin between himself and Lando Norris is a fraction of a tenth of a second as he goes into the bus stop. Will he be able to turn it around? Will he get a nicer exit than Lando Norris did? Let's wait and see. Nice traction, to be fair. Opens the DRS across the line, second place by 0.2 of a second. Yeah, losing out 1/10 of a second in the first sector and also 1/10 of a second in the third sector. So yeah, Piastri's got some work to do. I mean, he's just got to work on his exits, really. You know, if his exit of La Source was bad, he's going to lose a 10th going up the hill towards the Les Combes chicane. And if his exit at Stavelot is bad, he's going to lose a 10th going through Blanchimont. Okay, 4 minutes left on the clock, ladies and gents, and the drivers still in the elimination zone. Colapinto, Russell, Stroll, Antonelli, and Bortoletto. And let's wait and see. And yeah, that gap that I was talking about, only 1.2 seconds between the top and the bottom positions. Yeah, that's just gone up to 1.8. So yeah, probably spoke a little bit too soon on that one. The record set by Oscar yesterday was a 140.5, currently a 141.0, so we're still half a second off. Still quicker than the W11 lap, though. The W11 lap was a 141.2 something. Okay. We've hit 2,000. We've hit 1,000 likes. Thank you everyone for hitting the like button. Also, folks, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. Hopefully, we can hit 183k subs today. Yeah, I'll be commentating all of the sprint races, all of the full races, the practice sessions on YouTube. So you know, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Helps out the channel, and you won't miss a stream. So yeah, very much would be appreciated, folks. Okay. Oh, and there we go. The subscribers have just jumped about 100. Very nice. So, we have got Lando Norris out again. Is he out again on another fresh set of soft tyres? Interesting. I mean, I don't know why they're using fresh sets of softs at the end of Q1 when they are already 0.6 ahead of the competition and 1.5 seconds ahead of the cutoff. Doesn't make much sense to me, but interesting choice. Do you think we can dip down into the 139s? Well, for them to dip down into the 139s, you're going to need, you know, I think you'd need Max Verstappen in a McLaren, and you're going to need slightly lower track temperatures, and then it would be possible. Maybe Piastri could do it, but track temperatures at 37 degrees, a little bit too high. Ideally, you'd want them, say, 32. So just a slightly lower track temperature that allows you to push a little bit harder without overheating. But thanks for the donation, Go to Dweezy. All right, George Russell purple in the first sector. Looks like he's planning to change the fact that he's currently in the knockout zone. Purple and 0.3 quicker than Lando Norris in the first sector. Ever so slightly quicker than Lewis Hamilton, who's second fastest in the first sector. And 1 minute 30 seconds left on the clock now. So if you're not out onto the circuit now, you're not going to get a lap in. Okay, Max Verstappen's on a flying lap currently. A couple of purple mini sectors, a couple of yellow ones as well, and some green to go along. And let's see what he can do. Heading towards the bus stop chicane. Does he get a nice little toe there from Charles Leclerc? A little bit of a toe. And then towards the bus stop he goes. Nice straight line braking for Max Verstappen. He's just got the upshifts left to go, and across the line comes Verstappen. Where's that going to put him? Third place, 0.3 back from Lando Norris's lap. Very nicely done. George Russell, what can he do through the middle sector? Antonelli across the line, 11th. That might not be enough, depending on how much else everyone improves. And George Russell across the line, what's it going to be for Mr. Saturday himself? Only 8th. I was expecting higher. He's 0.7 back, slower than the Williams as well. How has that happened? I am not sure. Stroll across the line, 18th for him. He's knocked out of Q1. Fernando Alonso, can he do any better? No, he cannot. 16th position for him. He is knocked out of Q1 as well. Okay, then we have got a couple more laps coming in now. Yeah, Norris. Oh, Norris's data's glitched. That's what it is. He's not actually on a fresh set of tyres by the looks of it, because Piastri's on 3-lap-old tyres. And yeah, Norris's tyre data isn't updating. Classic FIA. All right, we got Hadjar up into fourth. What a lap from Isaac Hadjar in the Red Bull, up in fourth position, half a second back from Lando Norris. Yuki Tsunoda across the line. He's 8/10 back. Behrman up into fifth as well. Very, very nice job there. Hulkenberg improves up into 12th. Hamilton on 14th. He cannot get eliminated again. Pierre Gasly's on a flying lap as well, and it's looking pretty good. If Ocon matches what Behrman does, Hamilton could be in trouble. Here comes Esteban Ocon. What can he do? He's just got the final bus stop chicane left to go. Quite a few yellow mini sectors there. He didn't get the best exit out of Stavolo. Across the line he comes. Ocon up into 13th. Hamilton in 15th. Once again at risk of being eliminated. Here comes Charles Leclerc, currently in 6th position. He could probably box into the pits. In fact, that is exactly what he is going to be doing. Here comes Pierre Gasly though, currently in 16th position. He made it through into Q3 in sprint quali yesterday. Can he make it through into Q2 today? Here comes the Alpine. Across the line goes Pierre Gasly. It's 11th for him. It's 16th position now for Lewis Hamilton. He has to improve. There is no other alternative. Kimi Antonelli has been eliminated out of Q1, I'd like to say. And here comes Franco Colapinto. Lewis Hamilton, final couple of corners left to negotiate. He's yellow in the first sector, green in the second. Across the line is Lewis Hamilton, and it is 7th position. He is safe. That was very, very close. And here comes Franco Colapinto. What can he do? He's going to be... I think the last driver to come across the line, and only 17th there for Franco Colapinto, unfortunately. So that is that. The drivers eliminated out of Q1: Gabriel Bortoletto, Franco Colapinto, Kimi Antonelli, Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. I don't know what's gone on there. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll 19th and 20th. Yeah, I mean, Stroll is 20th. You probably could have guessed that one. But Astons weren't that bad before. Let's have a look at their top speeds. 311 kilometers per hour for all of them. For both of them, sorry. But a lot of drivers are going 311 kilometers per hour. So, I don't know what's going on there with the Astons. Okay. Oh, wait, Hamilton lap time deleted. What? Wait. It's just come over the thing. Lewis Hamilton lap time deleted at 1:41. Lewis Hamilton has been eliminated, ladies and gentlemen. What has happened here? A lap time deleted at turn number 4. Wait, let me just pull up the onboard. I'll show you exactly where he's done it. But, oh, no. Things have gone very, very badly for him. So you're going up through Eau Rouge, and through you go, and here, just on the left side here, I'm to the right of the curb. Hamilton was to the left of the curb. Lap time deleted. Lewis Hamilton is eliminated for the second time in Q1 at Spa-Francorchamps in the same race weekend. What? Oh my goodness me, things have just gone from bad to worse, and they look to be heading towards terrible, because yeah, I mean, oh my god, for Lewis Hamilton, Bortoletto just manages to get through into Q2, so by the pure luck, well, not really pure luck, by the fact that Lewis Hamilton got a lap time deleted. We're watching the replay here. And he's going through the corner here, and he straightens up the steering wheel, and yeah, I think he does cross the white line. Ferrari will, investigate that, and they'll say, oh no, he didn't, but yeah, I don't think they have much grounds to fight on, to be honest. I don't know what to say, ladies and gentlemen. I do not know what to say. They've just told Hamilton, oh no, Hamilton has asked, is everything okay? Track limits at turn 4, am I out? Yes, and they say yes, lap time deleted, P16. Hamilton keeps his helmet visor down, and well, I can only imagine underneath that visor he is not pleased with himself. Yeah, just a little bit more steering angle going through Eau Rouge, and he would have stayed under track limits. A tiny, like 4 degrees, 5 degrees, and he would have stayed within track limits. But he straightened up the steering wheel too early, and lap time deleted. Oh my goodness me. Yeah, I don't know what to say. All right, let me put up the timer for Q2. Yeah, that is a very, very big surprise. Not ideal to say the least. Okay, Q2 starting, I think, in Where's the timer? In 4 minutes. I think maybe 4 or maybe 5. Okay. Yeah. That's it. He's been knocked out, and the data is updated now to Q2. Oh my god. All right. What else have we got going on then? I mean, there's not much else you can say. Hamilton sat in the car. He's got his hands up in his hands, being like, "What?" Hands pointing upwards, like, yeah, not even got out of the car. Helmet visor still down, and I don't know what to say. The drivers lose 18.8 seconds in the pits. 18.8 seconds. Yeah, Hamilton forgot to press K1. I just don't know. I have no idea. Lewis Hamilton lap time deleted. Yeah. Okay. Oh, in fact, I should probably update this and just put sprint quali pole. Sprint pole. Is what, a 140.5, I think? Yeah, 140.5. Yeah. Okay, well, I guess we should probably talk about something else, rather than just dwelling on the fact that Hamilton's been eliminated. What else is there to talk about? I mean, Antonelli eliminated again. We're just talking about drivers getting eliminated, but what else is there to do now in the little gap? Second time now. Antonelli, of course, in SQ1 in sprint quali, he damaged his floor and then wasn't able to improve because, of course, his floor was damaged. But here in normal quali, nothing of that sort has happened. Also, look at these top speeds here. Colapinto is still using a totally dry setup, 219 kilometers per hour. That's quicker than he was going yesterday. So Colapinto has opted for a full, like, sort of just flat out straight line acceleration, and same thing for Pierre Gasly as well. So, you know, I think Gasly may get through into Q3. However, oh, sorry, folks, pit lane's already open. I don't know. I must have set the timer for the wrong time. Apologies. Yeah, but pit lane's already open. Everyone's sat in the pits, though. And, yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, Pierre Gasly, he has opted for a dry setup. And if it rains tomorrow, you know, he could start high up, but then he'll be in big trouble later on. So I guess we'll see. All right. Here we go then. All right. Alex Albon, are we happy to start my start lap? Happy with my start lap targets to be the same. I think that what that's referring to is essentially his warm up lap procedure. You know, is he going to be which corners is he going to push, which corners is he going to warm up the brakes, which corners is he going to warm up the tires, that sort of thing. So that's essentially what they're talking about, because, you know, the warm up lap is almost as important as the flying lap itself. If you don't warm up your tires properly for the first sector, for the first 5-6 corners, you're just not going to have enough grip. And Lewis Hamilton's left the Ferrari garage. I can't say I'm surprised, but yeah, Charles Leclerc continues out, just cruising down the pit lane, and Hamilton walks away. I mean, you know, Lewis Hamilton fans, welcome to what it is like to be a Ferrari fan. I once was a Ferrari fan when Seb Vettel was there, and yeah, I followed the same delusions. I remember saying to my friend in 2019, being like, "Oh yeah, this year's Ferrari's year. They're gonna have a really good engine, and they've got a new front wing concept design, and it's gonna be amazing." And how many race wins did Ferrari get that year? 2, I think. Yeah. It's tough being a Ferrari fan. Um, and this one was definitely Lewis's fault. You know, maybe sprint quali was the car's fault, the gearbox malfunctioned or something, but this one, it was Lewis Hamilton's fault, and there's nothing else that can be said. Yeah. All right. Yeah, all the drivers now coming out on their flying laps, or warm-up laps at least. Why is Piastri setting purple purple sectors here on his outlap? Purple mini sectors on his outlap. I don't know what he's doing. Clearly pushing harder than everyone else. Did Red Bull change setups? Yes, Red Bull have also added a little bit more downforce. Just as a reference point, pretty much everyone was hitting 317, 318 kilometers per hour yesterday through the speed traps, and now the majority of the drivers 315, 314, even 311 is what we're seeing from the most of them. So yeah, everyone's bolted on a little bit more downforce in preparation for the potential rain tomorrow. You know, tomorrow it isn't forecast to be a torrential downpour or anything like that. It's just a little bit of sprinkling of rain here and there, but the drivers would definitely benefit from the added downforce. Is Hulkenberg going to get a penalty for the Stroll incident? I don't think he is. There's nothing been noted on race control about that, so it should be okay. Okay, we have got some flying laps underway then. Let's have a look. Max Verstappen heading towards the Les Combes chicane. What can he do? He is absolutely flying, I've got to say. Real commitment from Max Verstappen through these corners. And through the first sector, it's a 30.16. Ocon, in fact, goes quicker, but that's, of course, because Ocon has got a lower downforce setup, and in the straights, you're going to be quicker. Okay. So, let's see. Let's have a look at this middle sector. Hulkenberg gets out of the way nicely, and Max Verstappen is pushing that car right to limit, braking all over the curbs as well, or on the white line, you know, right to perfection. He knows which part of the circuit has grip, which part doesn't, and he's placing the car exactly where he wants it to be. And that middle sector, as expected, purple, quickest out of anyone, quicker than Piastri's. What? How has he done that one? He's gone quicker than Piastri in the middle sector. Piastri, who's running more downforce than Max Verstappen, and has been an absolute monster in the middle sector. In FP1, was a full second quicker than Max Verstappen in the middle sector. But clearly, whatever help that Piastri had, whatever tricks that he knew, Max Verstappen knows them now as well. Across the line he comes. A 140.950 for Max to start off Q2. Ocon across the line at 141.6. And Tsunoda 141.2. Piastri goes quicker than Max, so clearly, I don't know, the circuit track temperatures have dropped a little bit. Maybe that's helping out Piastri, but he goes a tenth quicker, and Norris goes a couple of milliseconds quicker. So the McLaren still do have the upper hand. Maybe I did speak a little bit too soon there. I think I have a habit of doing that, to be honest. Maybe I should wait for everything to happen, but such is live commentary, you know? Alright, here comes Oscar Piastri then, out. Look, he got a pretty bad exit out of the bus stop chicane. You can see that from the couple of yellow mini sectors at the end there. And still manages to stay ahead of Lando Norris, actually. Yeah. Regardless, pretty good going. And a tenth quicker than his teammates. And 3/10 quicker than Max Verstappen. George Russell still 7/10 back. I would have expected the Mercedes to be closer, but just absolutely nowhere is their pace. Charles Leclerc's on a nice flying lap here, going through the Lafanges chicane, and pushing nice and hard is Charles Leclerc. And, you know, I think that Leclerc still has a shot at fourth place here. Verstappen, I think, might seal and deal third if the McLarens are going to be 1-2. But fourth, Leclerc's still in for a shot. 8 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock, folks. 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Behrman's the only driver in the pits. As of if we're talking about anyone using fresh tyres and old tyres, the only driver out on used tyres is Carlos Sainz. So don't read into his lap time too much. But apart from that, everyone else is out on fresh sets. And Charles Leclerc does slot up into fourth place, ahead of Tsunoda, but behind Max. And he's not that far behind Max as well. I've got to say, the Ferrari upgrades doing some good work there. And, they're working for Charles Leclerc at least. And to be fair, they were working for Hamilton as well before he got his lap time deleted. He was there. I think Leclerc was 6th and Hamilton was 7th, and then the lap time got deleted. So Hamilton still has pace, but yeah, just a lap time deleted. What can you do? We'll see about the 139 here. Track temperatures dropped a little bit. And Piastri a 140.6. Of course, yesterday he did a 140.5. So, there's still potential for a 140 for a little bit lower, but a 139 is is a little bit ludicrous, really. Ollie Behrman had a big snap going through Pouon there. Over the curbs he went, exceeded track limits, and then, of course, the curbs don't have as much grip as the asphalt, and got a nice snap of the car. Managed to keep it under control, though, and he's back into the pits for a different set of tyres. And some more fuel as well. Okay, I'm going to have a quick sip of water here, folks. I'll be back in just a second. But we've had our first runs of Q2, and the drivers in the drop zone are Hulkenberg, Bortoletto, Gasly, Sainz, and Behrman. Behrman with a lap aborted, and Sainz with a lap on old tyres. Tsunoda's doing good. Yeah, Tsunoda is doing good, actually. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, actually, Tsunoda improving and such. Thing is, though, I don't know, typically we've seen this happen before, where Tsunoda will get close to Max, but then it just turns out Max had a bit of a bad lap, and then the next lap, the gap is back up to 0.7 of a second, so, between the two drivers. So, maybe it's a sign that Max has still got pace to compete with Piastri for pole, but I guess we'll wait and see. Of course, yesterday, they did have, Max had that little bit more advantage of some top speed that helped him out for the pole, but it was still a really, really good lap, I've got to say. It wasn't purely just top speed. And this session, though, that has been all equalised. They're all going the exact same top speed. And yeah, it's now just a fight through the middle sector, really, and you're getting good exits. That's the other thing. So I'll take you through a lap of the circuit while we're waiting for some more action. But yeah, the main place is to get good exits here. The bus stop chicane doesn't matter so much because the start-finish straight is pretty short compared to the following straight that's about to come up. So, you smooth on the power, of course. Open the DRS as early as you can, up through the gears to 7th. You don't want to shift up into 8th, really. And then brake at the 100-meter mark. As well, just go full brake mark, full brake load, coast it through probably in 3rd gear rather than 2nd, and then your 22 seconds, the next 22 seconds are fully flat out. So that exit out of La Source is very, very key. And I'll just rewind a little bit through La Source, actually. And if you look at my minimum speed here, so as I'm braking into La Source, my minimum speed hits 80 kilometers per hour pretty much as I hit the apex of La Source, and then I'm back onto the power, sort of picking up the speed again. But let's just imagine, right, a scenario where you are going 85 kilometers per hour through the hairpin of La Source. You somehow manage to carry a little bit more speed. If you carry 5 kilometers more speed, your margin for error gets smaller and smaller. It gets tighter and tighter, and you have a very small window to start turning in, do a very smooth steering input. But these are the best drivers in the world. They can figure that one out. And if you can carry an extra 5 kilometers per hour at this point here, when you're accelerating up through the gears again, instead of being at 185 kilometers per hour, you'll be at 190. And then once you go up through the gears, rather than being at 250, you'll probably be at 254, 253. And that carries all the way down the next 22 seconds. So the minimum speed through La Source, and then of course the traction. It's a balancing act. Some drivers will prefer to just focus purely on the traction. Some drivers prefer to focus on the minimum speed. But in reality, you have to pay attention to both and balance them properly. And the engineers will coach the drivers through that one as well. Then you make your way through Le Combe. This is basically where your tyres start overheating. Up until this point, it was all uphill. Now it's all downhill from here. And the drivers, downhill braking, easier to lock up. It also puts a little bit more load on the tyres. It's harder to slow something down that is going downhill, of course. And then again, going through Pouon here, your front right tyre gets so much load. And the Williams mechanics here are trying to sneak a car through into the pit lane traffic. I mean, I don't know why these mechanics are trying to play bumper cars with each other. But Esteban Ocon has sort of just been blocked off by one of the Williams cars in the pit lane. You continue through the La Fange chicane here. Again, your tyres are really hot at this point. And then into Stavelot, this exit here. Try and get a flat out as early as possible. And if you time it correctly, it's in fact very, very difficult to hold it flat through here. Here, for me, it was relatively easy because my exit wasn't that great. And you can see that by my delta going slightly negative. But if you get a really good exit, it's actually very hard to stay flat through the following corner. Blanchimon's easy flat in these cars. And then just straight line braking for the bus stop chicane. And that's how you gain all of your time, really. If you're equal in terms of top speed and acceleration, you're getting all of the time in the traction zones and through the corners. Alright, So that's a lap of Spa, but now we've got the actual drivers doing a lap of Spa. Even with a downgraded package, he's getting the work done. There's no team principal. Yeah, there's no team principal. You know, he's of course got the help of the new team principal at Red Bull. He's worked with him before at Racing Bulls, so that little bit of a driver team principal connection will help out. It eases the pressure a little bit. You know, I'm sure Red Bull is a very high pressure environment, and I think a new team principal will help quite significantly to sort of reduce that. Max is sat in the pits. Max is confident that he's not going to get eliminated. And Piastri and Norris, they're going out on used tyres here just to get a feel for the circuit, trying to attack a little bit more and get into the rhythm of things. So when they go for their flat-out Q3 lap, they'll have a little bit more knowledge and experience and just a bit more of a rhythm, really, a bit more of a flow, because that's very important. You know, when the corners are coming at you at 200 kilometers an hour, you blink and you lose 20 meters of vision, right? Like when you're going at 200 kilometers an hour, you blink, which is a tenth of a second. That's how long it takes you to blink, and you move 20 meters. So the drivers have to be fully focused, fully in the flow and the rhythm of the circuit, and then they can put together a great lap. So that's why they're sending the drivers out on used tires, even though they know that they're going to make it through. Max Verstappen, I guess he's just said that, I don't need this extra driving. I'm good enough regardless, or he said something along those lines and has decided to stay in the pits. Anyway, as you can see, we've got a couple of drivers on their flying laps here and improving through the first sectors by the looks of it. Hadjar improves, Hulkenberg, Bortoleto, Gasly. So we've got a real fight on here for making it through into Q3. The drivers currently in the drop zone: Hulkenberg, Bortoleto, Gasly, Sainz, and Behrman. 37 seconds left on the clock here, and Behrman and Tsunoda might be cutting it a little bit close here to get their quali lap started. 28 seconds remain, and they've all got to sort themselves out before they go on their quali laps. Ocon, Behrman, and Tsunoda, 22 seconds left on the clock. Tsunoda, has he just jumped Behrman in the queue? He has. 16 seconds left. Is Behrman going to get across the line? I don't know. Here comes Pierre Gasly. First of the drivers starts flying up. Yeah, Behrman gets across the line. That's fair enough, but he's a little bit close, actually, to Tsunoda. Anyway, Gasly across the line, 9th place for him. Then we've got Isaac Hadjar across the line, 6th place for him. And then Hulkenberg up into 11th. That's him eliminated out of the session. Unfortunate there for Nico Hulkenberg, but might I point out, every single time Nico Hulkenberg has scored points, he has done it from starting lower than 10th position this season. So, you know, maybe it's a good sign. Esteban Ocon, purple through the first sector, got a mega toe off someone. I don't know who, but regardless, really, really nice first sector there from Ocon, and maybe that'll help him get it into Q3. Here comes George Russell up into 6th position, just securing that Q3 spot for him. Carlos Sainz currently in 14th position. He did his previous lap on old tyres. Now he's out on fresh tyres. What's it going to be? He improves, but not enough. Carlos Sainz eliminated, and Alex Albon is on the cusp of elimination as well. Lawson up into 8th, and then we have got Piastri on a used set of tyres going into the pits, I think, or maybe coming across the line, but regardless, not improving. Ocon is flying through the middle sector, and is he getting another toe off Leclerc? Is Leclerc going to slow down a little bit, give Ocon a toe? I mean, I don't see why not. They're not really competing against each other, but yeah, no such toe given to Esteban Ocon. We have got Albon, stays in 10th, doesn't manage to improve, and here comes Esteban Ocon, here comes Oliver Behrman. Tsunoda backs out of his lap. He knows that he's made it through, so there's no point risking it, potentially crashing the car. Esteban Ocon's final sector was not great. 11th position for him. He is eliminated out of Q2. Oliver Behrman does the exact same, and his first sector wasn't great. His final sector was it's pretty bad actually as well. But 11th and 12th for the Haas team. After scoring double points in the sprint, I think this is a little bit more of an accurate representation of their pace. Gasly eliminated, Hulkenberg eliminated, and Carlos Sainz eliminated as well. Alex Albon just scrapes through by 20 milliseconds. Super duper close there. And then we'll be getting underway for Q3 very, very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just pop a timer up on the screen for when Q3 is going to begin. But this is going to be mega exciting, because it's going to be a straight fight. Piastri versus Norris versus Verstappen. Who do you think it's going to be? And it's quite clear to see Leclerc and Russell just don't have the pace today to keep up with the big guns, and I guess we'll see what happens. Yuki's made it through, actually. Oh, I guess we'll see, actually. Is Yuki Tsunoda going to be sacrificed as a number 2 driver and be told to give Max Verstappen a huge toe down the Kemmel Straight? because, we sort of speculated that this would happen, and on previous occasions, Tsunoda just hasn't made it through into Q3. So now that he's made it through, maybe he will. Maybe he'll give Yuki Tsunoda. Maybe he'll give Max Verstappen a huge tow down the straight. All right. Yeah. Also, someone's just sent me a DM on Instagram. F1 underscore gamer underscore 5 is my Instagram. But someone's just sent me a DM saying that some random Chinese website is stealing my live stream. So if you're still watching the stream, if you could send me a link to that Chinese broadcast or Chinese video website, then that would be fantastic. But yeah, we've had this in quite a few occasions now. We've had someone on TikTok steal my content and just repost it without even crediting me. And now someone from China as well. What happened to Hamilton? Hamilton exceeded track limits on his flying lap, and lap deleted and knocked out of Q1. There's no other way to put it. It was as simple and as straightforward as that. Yeah. All right. Also got 18,000 people tuned into live stream. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Really do hope that you are enjoying the coverage, and hope to see you for the race tomorrow as well. The race tomorrow should be mega with rain expected. It should be, yeah, I mean, we're just going to have loads of action. That's all I can say. So I suspect everyone should be tuning in, really. Yeah. Oh, look at this. All of the mechanics now, the McLaren mechanics, their car's so perfect. All they're doing is polishing the car now, making all of the surfaces as smooth as they can possibly make them to minimize the drag, to maximize the downforce. Now they're just hoping now that cleaning up the dust and the debris on the cars is going to add some more pace to themselves. But yeah. Okay. Okie dokes then, yes. Q3 starting in 3 minutes' time, and let's wait and see what happens. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. Okay. Yeah, Max Verstappen has been quickest at Spa for, I think, 4 out of the last 5 years. In Q3, he hasn't got pole position technically because he had a grid penalty. But apart from that, Max has been getting pole after pole, quickest lap after quickest lap in Q3 at Spa. So maybe he's going to do it again. What's up with the yellow flag? I don't know. There's probably some dust on the circuit, and that's why they've got the yellow flags out. Okay. I'm going to have a quick sip of water. My throat's really starting to hurt, actually. Can you explain dirty air? Basically, dirty air is like turbulence in a plane. So when you encounter turbulence in a plane, you sort of feel the plane shake about a little bit. And that's because the plane sometimes momentarily generates a tiny bit less lift, and then momentarily generates a little bit more lift, and it's the same in the Formula 1 world. Momentarily the car will generate a little bit less downforce, a little bit more downforce, and it varies about, essentially making the car slower overall. And dirty air is just that sort of turbulent effect of the car not consistently producing the same amount of downforce and producing less downforce as well, essentially just slowing the drivers down through the corners. But the flip side of that, is that down the straights you do have less downforce, which means less drag, which means more top speed. Rain tomorrow, indeed, there is rain tomorrow. So once again, just to go over the forecast, there is a 50% chance of rain throughout the entire day. So I suspect what's going to happen is that we're going to have rainfall before the start of the race, and the circuit will be wet. And then maybe in the race we'll get some rain, but that's obviously not guaranteed. But I think there's a very high chance that we will have a wet circuit, at least to start with. George Russell has been told to select first gear. I think that's a pretty good idea, actually. I don't think he was going to get very far in neutral. and we can struggle down the pit lane here. Just don't slow the cars behind you. Okay. Yeah, they're just telling George Russell what to do, really. Selecting first gear it's a pretty good idea. Okay. Mr. F1 man, I love you. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in as well. I mean, I love all of you guys as well. It's a huge pleasure to commentate to all of you guys. So fun, and yeah, great community that we've got here on the stream. All right, so let me get rid of this timer, and as you can see there, Q3 has begun. George Russell, first car out onto the circuit. What happens to the Aston Martins? I don't know, actually. Their pace was pretty good in sprint quali and in the sprint race. Or it wasn't pretty good, but it was all right, like decent. But I don't know. I don't know how they've ended up in dead last. Yeah. How do you fix the Monaco Grand Prix? I think you would fix the cars first, and that would fix the Monaco Grand Prix by itself. Monaco is never going to be a super high overtaking circuit, but if the cars were smaller, if they were lighter, if they could get closer to each other, then Monaco might be a little bit more enjoyable. So yeah, it's not so much an issue of Monaco as it is an issue of the cars. Track limits and caught out Lewis Hamilton. Indeed it did. Anyone just tuning in now, I'll quickly just go over what happened to Lewis Hamilton. He was going through Eau Rouge and I just missed it. So he goes through Eau Rouge, hits these apexes nicely, and then at this point here, he straightens out the steering wheel. As you can see there on my steering wheel, I'm still tilting the steering wheel to the right ever so slightly, right? And then I straighten it up. Hamilton just went straight on and went over this curb on the left-hand side. And, if you're to the left of the curb, you're cutting the corner, and you cut the corner, exceeded track limits, lap time deleted. It's pretty self-explanatory from there. But, yeah, that's essentially what happened to Lewis Hamilton. Okie dokes here, folks. We have got the start of Q3, top 10 shootout here between the drivers. And also, folks, let me know. I'm quickly just going to change the setup here on the screen. Would you prefer, for the top 10 shootout, for us to have a setup sort of like this? I would figure out how to get these drivers over here, but you can see sort of the top speeds, the RPMs, the gears, or would you just prefer the normal sort of qualifying setup? Let me know in the chat, but I think this might be cool just for the final top 10. I'll figure out how to get these drivers over here, but yeah, let me know. I'll read through the chat messages later. A lot of people saying normal. Okay. I'll do a poll actually. I'll do a poll and then that'll be fairer rather than just people spamming chat messages. Normal or new? Okay, here we go then. Max Verstappen starts his quali lap, and George Russell's first, then Verstappen, then Leclerc, then Tsunoda. Just to quickly go over, we have got used tyres for Max Verstappen, used tyres for Yuki Tsunoda, used tyres for Hadjar, Lawson, Bortoleto, and Albon. So, these lap times that you see from Max Verstappen are not going to be representative because, well, he's on used set tyres. Right, Bortoleto barely escaping from Q1 to Q3. Yeah, I mean, a really good job there from Bortoleto. Somehow he's a pretty good qualifier, but in the race sort of tends to go backwards, and Nico Hülkenberg seems to be the opposite. Can't hook together qualifying sessions for some reason in the Haas, or not the Haas, sorry, the Sauber. But in races, every single time he scored points this season, he scored from outside of the top 10, while starting the race from outside of the top 10. Oh, looks like we've got 55% of people with the normal setup, 45% with the new. So, I guess democracy is democracy, and I'll keep it with the normal setup. Yeah. Okay, 8 minutes and 12 seconds to go, and here comes George Russell. First flying lap in Q3. What is it going to be from Mr. Saturday himself? Across the line, a 141.5. Max Verstappen on a used set of medium tyres. What can he do? A 141.0 from him, and he's half a second clear of George Russell on a used set of tyres. Just pure skill, really, from Max. Charles Leclerc slots ahead of George Russell. It looks like the Ferrari's got the upper hand over the Mercs this weekend. And second place for him, then Tsunoda across the line, fourth place for him. And yeah, as I was saying earlier, Tsunoda tends to get close to Max on certain occasions, but then Max will go in and put another ridiculously good lap in, and the gap once again drops to, or increases to 9/10 of a second. Norris goes 2/10 ahead of Oscar Piastri. Very, very nicely done here. And through the middle sector, which was Piastri's strong suit, is now suddenly Lando Norris's strong suit. And yeah, looking extremely good is Lando Norris. Okay, I think Yuki will give a toe to Max. Yeah, with the gap being as big as it is, okay, the fresh tyres will help out Max, probably give him a quarter of a second, 3/10 of a second maybe. But this is, after all, everyone sort of cares about the Drivers' Championship. The team will say, oh yes, we care about the Constructors. But if they have a choice of winning the Drivers or winning the Constructors, they will always pick the Drivers. And yeah, I think they may sacrifice Tsunoda to give Verstappen a toe. Verstappen came over the radio really weird. I didn't have any grip, and they come over the engineers come over the radio, look at the telemetry, and say, yeah, it looked like a really tricky lap. I don't know what that is or what the cause of that is. The wind is only 3.6 kilometers per hour, so it's not the wind. Track temperature has gone up a little bit. The sun has sort of come out, and it's up to 39 degrees now, which means that the tires start to overheat a little bit earlier, so you lose grip slightly earlier in your flying lap. But it's not that big of a difference, so I guess we shall see. Okay, why use tyres for Max? I think they're saving a set of softs for the race tomorrow, because if it is a wet race, quite often the soft tyres are the best tyres to go on to the soft tyres are the best tyres to go on to because they will warm up the quickest, and in wet conditions your track temperature drops so low that you need the soft tyres to keep the tyre temperature, to build the tyre temperature. So they're saving a set of softs just in case they need them for the race. I think that's what they're doing, at least. All right. Do you think Max will sacrifice QUALI for a new setup for the rain tomorrow and try and prevent what happened in Silverstone? Yeah, I think the team has learned their lesson from Silverstone. In Silverstone, in QUALI, Max was running a Monza-style downforce package, right? Like super low downforce, maximum top speed, and he managed to stick it on pole just through sheer skill, right? But when it comes to racing in the wet conditions with that low level of downforce, even with one of the best drivers in wet conditions, it's not always going to work. So they've learned that lesson, and basically this weekend they've decided, oh yeah, we'll bolt on a little bit more downforce. We're still not going to go maximum downforce. As you can see, I think the Hasses were going pretty high levels of downforce, and that might explain why they got knocked out in Q3, because they're running a little bit more downforce. Oh, actually, never. Yeah, Behrman, 19th position in terms of downforce, 311 kilometers per hour. I think Ocon is maybe running a little bit more, or maybe got a toe on when he did his lap. Yeah, Ocon maybe got a toe on that lap. But yeah, they're not going fully towards the downforce version, but they're playing a sort of compromise. Oh, and that's fantastic. We've just hit 183k. Thank you everyone for subscribing. Very much is appreciated. Yeah, Russell comes over the radio and says, did everyone go slower on that lap? And yeah, and everyone actually went a lot slower than expected. Norris actually got a very similar time to what Piastri got in pole yesterday, and Piastri himself 2/10 slower. So I don't know, maybe something's just happened to the circuit. Everything's got a whole lot slower. But Verstappen out on a fresh set of softs. Everyone now, it is the end of Q3. It is time for a fresh set of softs. It is time to find out who is going to be on pole position here today. Max Verstappen is going to be right at the front of the pack. He is not taking any sacrifices. And, they're lining up a toe as well. They must be lining up a toe. If Verstappen's going out right in first place and Tsunoda's coming out of the pit lane right now, or is right at the end of the queue, yeah, okay. So as expected, they're lining up a toe for Max Verstappen. It's a fight for the world title, and sacrifices have to be made. And as much as I would love to see Yuki Tsunoda potentially get a fight for 5th or 4th position, Red Bull care about the championship more. So it is what it is. Max Verstappen right at the first, and Yuki Tsunoda pretty much right at the end. I think the way that it's going to be set up is that Sonoda's either crawling out of there and he's going to give him a tow down the Kemmel Straight, or maybe he's going to give him a tow through Blanchimont. That would probably make a little bit more sense. Yeah, I guess we'll see. But Verstappen right at the front of the queue, with Hadjar, then Norris, then Leclerc, then Piastri. And then we've got Russell, Bortoleto, Lawson, Tsunoda, and Albon. Wait, what? Ferrari, what are you doing? Why is Charles Leclerc out on a used set of tyres? What? This makes no sense. Ferrari, did you forget to put the right tyres on? I mean, Bortoleto, I understand the used set of softs there because they weren't expecting him to actually make it through into Q3, so they probably didn't save a set of soft tyres. But Ferrari, what are you doing? Okay, well, yeah, I mean, there's no words to really describe that. Also, I don't think they're actually setting up a tow they're not setting up a tow for Max. I don't think he's going to be able to get one. The timing's all off. I don't know if that's a mistake or if that's on purpose, but Verstappen's leading the way regardless, and it is absolute maximum attack from him. Like, he is pushing his way through Eau Rouge, car scraping along the floor, and up he goes through the Kemmel Straight, DRS open as early as humanly possible, and then he's got the Les Combes chicane to deal with. He's 2/10 down on Lando Norris's time through the first sector. Not a great start, and the circuit may have got a whole lot slower. Hadjar improves in the first sector. Leclerc also improving, and maybe it was a mistake from Max. We'll just have to wait and see. Norris goes slower in the first sector as well. And what can Charles Leclerc do? He crosses the Charles Leclerc goes purple. Charles Leclerc goes fastest out of the first sector out of anyone. No tow, no nothing. Charles Leclerc, amazing first sector. Max Verstappen through the middle sector now. Can he set the mini sectors alight, or is it all just going to be yellow and green? Here he comes through the middle sector line. What is it for Max? It is green in the middle sector of 42.7. That is half a second down, 0.4 of a second down on the McLarens. Today is not the day by the looks of it. There's no tow waiting for him on the Blanchimont Straight. Yuki Tsunoda is nowhere to be seen. He's got turn number 17 and 18 and 19 left to go. Here he comes through the bus stop chicane. What is it going to be from Max? Is he able to pull something out of the bag? Absolutely not. He improves, but it's only third place, and he only goes slightly quicker than a lap on used tyres. Isaac Hadjar up into fourth position. Simply incredible. We've got a fight on our hands, though. Is it going to be Lando Norris? Is it going to be Oscar Piastri? Norris does not improve. He goes slow. Oscar Piastri improved in the first sector. He improved in the second sector. He's just got the bus stop chicane left to go. What can he do? Charles Leclerc jumps Max Verstappen. How has that happened? 3 milliseconds is the gap. Leclerc's up in third place. Oh my goodness me. Here comes Oscar Piastri. He was on pole yesterday. He cannot get on pole today by 85 milliseconds. He's in second position. Lando Norris is in first. George Russell up into fifth place. We've got Bortoleto coming across the line now for 10th. Then Liam Lawson, and we've got Tsunoda and Albon left in the queue. But Russell, purple in the first and in the third sector, but his middle sector was just so horrifically slow. He was a full second slower than Lando Norris in the middle sector. That's how bad Russell's middle sector was, and that's why he's not on pole position. If he could hook together in the middle sector, that would have been pole for George. Yeah, wild. Alex Albon up into fifth position. What a lap. Alex Albon in the Williams. Potentially a William podiums tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I guess the rain will dictate what happens tomorrow, but it has been a very, very exciting Q3 session here today. And yeah, the Max's pace just even worse at the end of Q3. I mean, you'd have expected him to improve a little bit more, but he says over the radio, oh my God, that was really bad, just no grip to start the lap. So yeah, the tyre warm-up procedure that they did was pretty bad. Max got a huge bit of oversteer coming through La Source, and that was the end of the lap just at turn number 1. Okay, Yuki Tsunoda up in P7 as well. Great job from him. Both RBs into the Q3 as well. But that's it from me, folks. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I'm going to end the stream now, take you over to the race stream. So be sure to tune in be sure to tune in for that one. Once again, I stress we'll probably have a wet circuit at the start of the race, and then we have, I don't know, it's a 50-50 chance if there's rain or not during the race itself. So be sure to tune in. I hope to see you all there, because this race is going to be mega. Norris versus Piastri versus Leclerc and Verstappen with the added action of rain. I just cannot wait. Alex Albon potentially in 5th, potentially a Williams podium. I guess we'll see. Yeah. Thank you everyone for tuning in. It's been a pleasure commentating to you guys. Have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, or night, depending on where you are in the world. And I will see you in 21 hours and 57 minutes for the race. So I'm going to end the stream now. I'll take you over to the full race stream. If you could hit the like button and the reminder button, that helps out the channel a lot. And that's about it, really. That is about it. So thanks for tuning in, and I shall see you later. Bye-bye.